Hello and welcome to this edition of the Player Spotlight. I'm Tyler Rowland, and with me is the new head coach at Rock Hill High School in Ohio. In 2020, he won a state championship with the Ashland Tomcats and was named Kentucky Class 3A Football Coach of the Year. He is also one of the all-time winning leaders at Ashland, finishing with an 81-29 record. And, of course, it's good to see him back at the game after a 2-year retirement. Tony Love, good to see you on here. I have to call you, of course, also a lifelong friend. Coach, it is good to see you back in the game. How have you been?
I've been doing great. Now, first off, would you rather me call you Bayou or Tyler?
What the heck? You can call me Bayou like old times.
Okay, well, that's great because I'll slip up if you ask me to call you Tyler, I'm sure. So we'll stick with Bayou and we'll keep rolling. I'm doing great, Bayou. I really appreciate you calling me, wanting to do this and get a chance to talk about my new kids and new team and the exciting things going on. So let's let it roll.
Yeah, and what was it that over the past couple of years that led you to want to come back to coaching?
Well, I would say I realized that I'm not a scratch golfer, so I'm never going to get on the tour. I'm not going to be in any orchestra or anything like that. So, football is just what I am. It's one of my loves, and this was a great opportunity. I wasn't going to just jump into any job. I really hadn't planned on coaching again. I was very, very comfortable in my life, and this opportunity came up, and I talked with several people before I talked with the interview committee, and I felt like if things could work out, and job-wise and everything that goes along with it, then this could be an opportunity I really didn't want to pass up on.
And let's talk a little bit about the first couple months. How do you feel right now about the team coming back?
Well, they have most of their starters coming back. They went 4-6 last year, and I think they're talented kids. I think there's a lot of room for improvement that you would naturally see, as a junior transitions into his senior year, or you go right down the list from sophomore to junior, the maturity that goes along with that. We've really tried to challenge them about cultural development, starting in the weight room, and that's the bedrock of anything that I want to do for a football program. Is we are going to get in the weight room, and we're going to get stronger and develop speed, the toughness that goes along with it, and the discipline that goes along with it. So, the things that I'm seeing, I'm happy about. The kids are buying in. They're starting to see their bodies change. They're starting to see their minds change. It's getting to the weight room when school's out. I'll be honest, I think it was a bit of a chore in the first couple of weeks to some of the kids, a lot of the kids. But as we've moved through, I think 8 weeks now, I think this is our 9th week, you see more of them in there early. You see more of them, enthusiastic. The last 2 weight days that we have just been incredible with enthusiasm and effort. So, I'm excited about where we're going.
And let's talk a little bit about your style. And, of course, I'm going to tell, one of my long favorite stories of you. It feels like yesterday we were in the weight room. And I remember coming in, of course, 2002 as a freshman, and I remember just how disappointed I was. I thought I can only squat 115 pounds. I could do this. And, you've got that unique way. You pulled me aside afterward, and you said, well, I wasn't called Bayou there, but you said, Tyler, he's like, right now, we're not where we need you to be, but we can change that. you gave me a jump rope, and you said, I want you to take this home, and I want you to wear it out. And, I mean, I made improvements that were leaps and bounds over that off season, and talk about that and your style of coaching, because I know I'm not the only one that would have a story like that to share about you.
Well, I think there's value in every kid that wants to walk through those doors and commit to getting better, to get stronger and faster, and just to make a commitment to the team. And as long as, and you're one of those guys that you're going to be there every day, because a lot of guys, and I'm not saying this necessarily about you, but a lot of guys, that becomes their home in a way. That's where their buddies start to meet. They develop this friend group, and I see that there's value in every kid that wants to do that. And I don't know if you'll agree with this or not, but I've never viewed myself as like a yell and scream in anger kind of coach. There may have been a time or two, but for the most part, I think that I like to enthusiastically get my voice up, if you know what I mean. Run pursuit with the kids, and just get in there and lift with the guys and demonstrate through actions what you want. And so, I think it works for me. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's the end all be all way to run a program or to motivate kids or anything like that. But, for me, I'm a kid at heart. And I think, my love for this game comes out with the passion that I show in the weight room, on the field, and those things. So, there's a lot of kids that wonder, is it worth the effort that you have to put in to be successful on Friday night? And they don't realize that as they're putting that effort in. They're just really questioning it. This is exhausting, and I feel nauseous. I'm sore the next day. All those things that go through your mind. But it's making that one-on-one personal connection with each kid to hopefully inspire them to come back the next day and, to put another block in the wall, and to continue to build, because, if you continue to show up and you continue to build, then, I think you're going to have a great product as time passes by. And some kids, are going to be 1-year kids, and they're going to, have great success. Some kids, it's going to take them, a couple of years to get to the point that, Friday night is now something that is within grasp to them. So, I like hanging out with kids. I like the work that I see them put in. I like knowing the results that's coming down the road when they don't necessarily know. They're just kind of doing a trust ball with you, and they're hoping that what you're telling them is going to pay off. And, as you get down the road, you kind of forget about how difficult it was, and you start seeing, the positive gains from doing it.
Yes, and I'll say this too. I absolutely would agree. You're not really the type that yells. I think enthusiastic. You put your style perfectly. I just remember that. Now, one thing I will say, of course, if someone play for that, it's not going to be all roses. You're people who play for you. They're not going to necessarily get a bunch of fluff and hear what they want to hear. But, I mean, they're going to hear what they need to hear. And that's something that I always admired about you. And looking at this situation you're in now, let's talk a little bit about that, because looking at Ashland, you think of the story, it was a story program. I mean, and it's one that's always been in contention for a regional, if not a state championship, just about, most seasons. And now stepping into Rock Hill, you're taking a program that I think their last, if I recall right, their last winning season was a 6-4 in 2016. But coming into the situation, though, there's still, I think, a lot of optimism around it. But describe the difference and what you've in the two situations and what you've had to, what you've come in and done.
Well, I mean, there's a vast difference in some ways between the two, but there's also no difference in some ways between the two. And the differences would probably be, the history, the culture, the expectations that the kids have on themselves, because it starts young. They see the group ahead of them has been successful, has been in the weight room, has achieved these milestones when it comes to certain strength records. And so all those things, they want to be part of that. They want to be on that board, and, they want to feel like, their time there was extremely special. And, I believe the Rock Hill kids, also want to feel that way, but they haven't had that experience. They haven't had that core development yet. And so, it's exciting to me to go into a situation and start to feed that, into the kids, start to, talk to them daily about, my expectations, about the administrative expectations, about the community expectations, and expectations are a little different than wishes. A lot of people wish that they could do this or wish that they could do that, but when all of a sudden you're expected to do these things, it kind of carries a little different feeling to you. And so that's where we are right now. Is we're just, we're working through the cultural expectations of, and I've said to these guys, we sit down and talk. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you, when you look at a championship program, a championship team, how do you think they work? I try to throw it on them to come up with the answer instead of me telling them how to behave, how to act, how to do this. There are times where I'll do that, but I think if they go searching for the answer more, then they're apt to kind of embrace that mission, so to speak. And that's where we are right now is, listen, I said this in my interview with Zach. I see discipline on this team. When I watch their games from in the past, I don't see a lot of foolish penalties. I don't see a lot of jumping on sides, putting the ball on the ground. And, I see a pretty disciplined team. And when you start with, a fairly strong discipline in your program, then you can make a lot of hay early on. There's some things that we've got to work on, obviously, that every program is going to have to work on. But, I look at the positive things with these kids. The administration is and it's not just for football, but they're looking to upgrade the weight room over there. That's something I've always been excited about. Having a hand in is kind of making it really special. Because the administration not only wants football to succeed, they want to see all the programs succeed. So, they're getting ready to help fund on that. Their facilities over there are incredible. We've talked about that as well. I mean, you look at their stadium. I mean, it's a beautiful stadium. Their school, it's 20 years old, I believe, but it looks brand new. When you walk the hallways, I mean, there's not a speck of dirt anywhere on the floors or anything. They really do a good job. There's a lot of positives in this situation, and I think all that, you just have to point it out to the kids so that they understand. You can have something special here, but it's your choice. You have to choose to get to the weight room when the weight room's open. You have to choose to put the maximum effort in every time you're here. Just showing up isn't good enough. And so, we talked about that as well today is, why would you choose mediocrity when you can choose greatness? And greatness comes at a price, though. And, the price is pretty stiff.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to figure out, are you willing to pay that price? And are you willing to pay that price every day? So, that's where we are. That's kind of the things that are similar, but the things that are different, with the two programs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of optimism around it. And what style of football do you plan on playing?
Well, what do you think I'm going to be built on by you?
Well, if I had to guess, you love to run the football.
Well, I love to move the football down the field, and if we can do it by running or passing, it doesn't matter to me. But we're going to build it on discipline, defense, running the football, and taking advantage of I call it the low hanging fruit. If there are gifts out there on the field to be able to have an offense that can take advantage of. For example, if there's a corner playing, really far off of a receiver, and just throwing a short hitch route, just giving it to your guy in space and letting him, try to make somebody miss and get down the field. But, when it comes to winning football, I've said this in so many interviews, it is built on defense, discipline, being able to run the football. You can stay in most games. And if you stay in most games and give the kids a chance to win, I think that's kind of what you want to do as a coach. Just give your kids a chance to win at the end, to have, built a toughness, a discipline, a confidence in the kids that they can win it in the fourth quarter. And so, our training practices, kind of challenge the kids to win games in the fourth quarter. It's just there's a lot of elements that you don't just show up and I don't have a magic wand. I'm not going to walk in here and just wave around and poof, everything's going to be perfect. We're going to have to put some work in, and you guys got to pack your lunch and come to work every time this weight room's open and every time we're on the practice field. So. I really believe that they're buying into that. They're feeling like, hey, this is not a terrible thing. This is good stuff. I'm seeing a change. I'm kind of developing a little confidence because as well as I do, with strength comes confidence, and with confidence, you have that aggressiveness on the football field, that the swag on the football field that you need, and I think the ability to go and get it when you need to go and get it.
Let's talk a little bit about that defensive philosophy, because one thing that I remember that you emphasized heavily and still seem to do, I mean, my gosh, especially that 2020 team, is flow to the football.
It's a gang of 11 over there, and everybody has a job, and you take care of your responsibility, and then run like heck to the football once you locate it. But you have your job first, and you've seen enough of my games. That there's been enough change that's happened over my career. It's always, I've always looked at, what do we have, and how can we build an offense around our base offensive strategies, but how can we build an offense to take advantage of what we can do, and to kind of push aside and maybe try to develop what we don't do so well, but what we can do, and that becomes the emphasis, is what we do best. And it's the same thing defensively. I ran a 4-4 when I first took over for Coach Hart, and my first couple of years as the head coach. And then, we moved into a 4-3, and then we moved into a 3-4. And so you kind of, you put things in place that will allow you to be flexible and to be able to manipulate around with personnel, some things that you feel like and that you do best. So we may be really good at running off tackle. We may not. We may be better at throwing the short game. That's the crazy thing kind of goes through my head right now is I haven't had the kids on the field to be able to figure this out. We've just been in the weight room. We've gone out and ran a little bit on the field, but I'm so far away from knowing what all the personnel can do, and it kind of drives me crazy, to be honest with you, because I want to know. It's like sitting there looking at a Christmas present 2 months out. You just want to know what's in it. So, that's kind of where we are. And we'll figure it out over the summer. But right now, it's just important that we continue to build the strength, the discipline, the enthusiasm, and the culture right now in the weight room and running and developing that speed.
Mm-hmm. And talk a little bit about your staff and some of the people that are on your coaching staff.
Well, I have two coaches that coach with me over here at Ashland, Jesse Carmen and Ed Zeke. And they both, Ed ended up going down to Raceland for a year, and Jesse's been, he's been taking care of his family over in Pedro, where Rock Hill is. And he was pretty instrumental in reaching out to me and letting me know when they were looking for a coach and introducing me to some people. So, those are both extremely solid guys that, I have a lot of respect for. I know what they're capable of. I know how they relate to kids, and I'm excited to have them on my staff. Coach Simpkins, he's really our weight room guy, and he's going to be, helping in the backfield. He's going to be helping at linebacker position too. He came from Cabell Midland, and he is, and he's a fired up dude. He's a massive individual for one, but he's a fired up dude, and he loves the weight room as much as I do. So, when we sat down and talked, I told him, I said, look, I want coaches to coach. I know there are some coaches, and it works for them, that will micromanage, that want things done to the letter of what their expectations are, and I'm not that way. If I see something that I think we need to adjust or something that I feel like is wrong, then we'll talk about it. But I just feel like you kind of stymie the excitement of somebody who wants to coach if you don't let them coach. And so, talking to him, and one thing he said, Coach, I've got a different way of training. Do you mind if I run the weight room? And I said, well, let's just talk through what you want and, see where we go from there. And he's really been instrumental in that part of our program right now. And, I love what he's doing. It's more of a football functional type weight program, which, until you get into the nuts and bolts of it, you really wouldn't understand that. But, I think the kids are responding very well to it. And then Trey Wilds, he is a teacher there at Rock Hill, and he was an assistant coach at Minford for a couple of years, played receiver in college, and, he's one of those smart guys, that understands concepts very well, and I'm excited to have him on the staff. So, there's still a couple guys we're feeling out. We're kind of taking our time. We want to get guys that fit into the staff itself, because the cohesion of a staff is critical.
Gosh, I remember, Jesse and Ed, I remember first encountering them when semi-pro with the River City Buccaneers, and gosh, talk about two guys that can design a blocking scheme for the offensive line. And let's talk a little bit about the conference, joining the Ohio Valley Conference, and looks like, I'm sure there will be some exciting games this year. The OVC, of course, a lot of A lot of good teams in that group. What are your thoughts on the OVC?
Well, that's another unknown to me. You watch some YouTube videos. I've got Huddle, the Huddle account now, so I pulled up last year's video, and yeah, you start taking information in. You start to work on your preliminary breakdown to see, maybe what some tendencies are. You start that deep dive, and that's where I scratch my head going, am I crazy to start going down this road again? But it's just, it's fun to me. You look at Gallipolis, they've been very athletic, good. They've had some really good seasons. Fairland, very athletic, very good. They've had some, very good seasons. Cold Grove, they're always going to be big and physical, from what I understand. But, when you're caught up for 30 years playing on your side of the river and, you get to know your teams that you're seeing basically year in and year out, you really don't take in a lot of information. So knowing and understanding the nuances of all these teams, is a bit challenging in itself. The rivals, and that's the thing about Ohio is they're built around conferences, and the conference teams aren't necessarily the same size in terms of the state. Figuring where you are, Division I, Division VI, etc. So, you're playing against some teams that aren't necessarily in the playoff scope that you are. So there's a lot of things up in the air that you just have to kind of comb through and figure out and dissect. But it's fun.
How do you feel about the football landscape that over the past couple years we've seen just so much right now? Just you see, like in college basketball, the transfer portal, NIL, it's just madness. And of course, I know that's not really a big thing at the high school level. But how do you feel? I feel like we're seeing sweeping changes to the landscape. Do you feel like over the past couple years it's changed quite a bit?
The game itself, I don't think has changed, but I really believe that there doesn't appear to be a lot of loyalty anymore with choosing a university to go to and being committed to it and, locked in and trying to make that university better. It just seems like, and I could be wrong or old-fashioned or however you want to put it, but it just seems like a lot of people are overly sensitive about not getting the playing time that they want. Instead of staying there and working hard for it, they just jump to greener pastures. So, as far as football, I think it's still the same game. It's still a great game. It's fun to watch. But as far as, the players here and there and everywhere else, and then getting paid for it, I'd love that when I was in. Of course, they probably wouldn't have paid me a whole lot, but, it was to see the money that's being, passed around is, I don't know what to say about that, to be honest with you. I guess really it's out in the open now. I remember reading some books when I was younger about, college players and what was going on with these jobs that basically had to go watch an oil well pump up and down or go to a used car salesman or, and they would just make things happen just by showing up. So, now it's just out in the open. So I think people were getting money before. It's just now everybody knows about it.
Coach, some questions to get to know you better. First off, who's your favorite NFL team?
Oh, Bayou. Listen, I was raised a Browns fan, but I have no expectations that Cleveland will do anything but disappoint me. So, In our household, my dad and I, we were both Cleveland fans. I had two brothers that were Bengals fans and two brothers that were Steelers fans. So, there's a lot of barbing going back and forth. But yeah, I just there's some teams that I really appreciate. I appreciate the Ravens. Coach Harbaugh coached at Moorhead when I was there, and so we kind of drawn. Hey, and not that he even remembers me. I'm sure he doesn't, but so you kind of pull for a guy that you've had some connection with. I really like how the 49ers have built their team and then that kind of structure. I liked, just the toughness and the defense and how they're able to manipulate a lot of people around in order to get playmakers the ball. So, I don't know. I don't watch a lot of NFL. It just seems like I'm so busy when it comes to football. Now that I'm back in coaching, and I love college football. I mean, I watch that all the time. But NFL, it's Sunday. It's just kind of, I was raised a Browns fan by my dad. I want to see him win, but I don't know, man. It's disappointing.
Yeah, some tough luck sometimes with the Browns. And what's a cool fact about yourself? Maybe something not a lot of people know.
Oh, jeez. There's nothing cool about me, Bayou. I'm just a plain guy, man. I really don't know of anything that I would point to and say, kids think that's cool or whatever. I don't know. I'm just kind of how I feel is what you're going to see, and I really relate a lot to a few good men. When they're in the courtroom, I try to coach this way. You want the truth. You can't handle the truth sometimes, so you kind of put that out there that hey, if you want to talk, whether it's a player or a parent, you want to sit down and talk, be willing to accept the truth. So, and I'm very honest.
I would strongly agree with that. And last question: Is there any message you would like to leave with the Rock Hill community?
Just my excitement. So far, everybody I've met, they're buzzing about the upcoming season. There's a lot of enthusiasm, and hopefully we can continue this. We can continue to build with the kids, and get better every day. It's just. I said this at the beginning. It's an opportunity that came knocking, and I was very comfortable and settled. But talking to the administration and the board members and several community members, I just feel like this is a good spot for me. This is an opportunity to really build great relationships and grow a program and build on what they do have.
Nicely said. Well, Coach Love, I want to say thank you for coming on, and be sure to stay tuned and check local media providers to follow this Rock Hill Redmen football team. A lot of excitement generated around them for good reason, and we want to say thank you all for watching today. God bless you, and we will see you soon.